The baseball writers, in all their profound wisdom, have elected Scott Rolen to the Baseball Hall of Fame. But does he truly deserve this honor? I will argue that he does not. If we had a baseball hall of the very good, Scott Rolen would definitely be worthy of inclusion into there. However, the Baseball Hall of Fame is special, and inclusion should be limited only to players that achieve certain milestones or numbers. Scott Rolen has not achieved any of these numbers. There has historically been two categories for hitters that pretty much warranted automatic inclusion into the Hall, and these were 500 home runs or 3,000 hits. Rolen has neither of these. However, if a player managed to put up other certain stats for his career that firmly planted him among the best in the game, inclusion is warranted. All baseball fans should know by now how RBIs or batting average to measure a player's ability does not really hold any weight. Two of my favorite stats to use in order to give an unbiased look at a hitter's true ability would be WAR, in which I prefer the Fangraphs version, and WRC+, or Weighted Runs Created Plus. According to Fangraphs, WRC+ is park and league adjusted, allowing one to compare players who played in different years, parks, and leagues. Want to know how Ted Williams compares with Albert Pujols in terms of offensive abilities? This is your statistic. WRC+ is the most comprehensive rate statistic used to measure hitting performance because it takes into account the varying weights of each offensive action and then adjusts them for the park and the league context in which they took place. This is why I love to use this particular stat. The higher the number, the better the player's hitting ability was. Of course, this stat does not include a player's defense, which we know Rolen was great at, or their base running. This is where we turn to WAR to gauge a player's overall value. Let's take a look at some other third basemen that are deservingly in the Hall and why. Number 1 would be Mike Schmidt, 548 career home runs, which would warrant inclusion on its own. But let's look a little further. He has a career WRC+ of 147, second all-time among third basemen, and a career FWAR of 106.5, also second all-time among third basemen. Chipper Jones does not quite have the home runs or hits, but he does have a career WRC+ of 141, tied for 7th best all-time among third basemen, and a career FWAR of 84.6, tied for 5th best all-time among third basemen. Wade Boggs has over 3,000 hits and a career FWAR of 88.3, 4th best all-time among third basemen. George Brett has 3,154 hits and a career FWAR of 84.6, tied with Chipper Jones for 5th best all-time. These third basemen are all very deserving of their place in the Hall of Fame. Now, let's take a look at Scott Rolen. 316 home runs, that's a no. 2,077 hits, that's a no. Career WRC+ of 122, tied for 42nd best all-time among third basemen, that's a no. And finally, a career FWAR of 69.9, 10th best all-time among third basemen. Now, this is borderline for me. It's certainly very, very good, based in large part on his stellar defensive play, but worthy of the Hall of Fame? Not in my opinion. As I said in the beginning, if we had a Hall of the very good, Rolen would certainly be in it. I'm not at all trying to say he was a bad player because that's simply not true. He was a great player, but just not quite Hall of Fame to me. The Baseball Hall of Fame is supposed to be reserved for the best of the best. The Hall of Fames for the other professional sports are completely watered down and they let in just about anyone. The Baseball Hall of Fame is on its way to becoming that now, and it really should not be. There are already too many players in the Baseball Hall that should not be in there, and nearly as many that definitely should be in there, but they are not. Hall of Fame inclusion should be solely based on a player's ability and his numbers. Baseball writers that have earned the vote include or omit certain players for too many biased reasons, with the relationship the writer had with the player being one of these stupid reasons. Hall of Fame inclusion should be 100% objective, based on stats and or ability, not because of how a writer feels about a player.